Howdy guys, say tech demos. Normally these things are just that, tech demos, but what if companies want to turn them into full franchises? Nintendo said hold my fucking beer.
I like tech demos. They can be a pretty good showcase of hardware. Sometimes they're just video showcasing a console's graphical capabilities, but sometimes companies can make playable demos as well. But to really sell it, companies might also bundle a game with the console just to really show what this thing can do. Console bundles were definitely around before the Wii, but I'd like to say that it popularized the tech demo bundle. They're not really tech demos, but rather simplistic minigame compilations that show off the console's hardware. Most of them, I say, are low quality grade A trash, but the one that managed to stick out in the eyes of many was Wii Sports. I mean, if you call selling over 80 million units worldwide and skyrocketing the Wii to the top of the best-selling consoles list sticking out, then I guess that counts. Everyone and literally your grandma knew what the Wii was. It brought in tens of millions of casual gamers with its simplistic and easy-to-use motion controls, and hey, it came with a game right in the box. Wii Sports started the oddball that was the Wii series. What started out as a tech demo that was made to reel in the consumer, then became a full-blown franchise. Games would usually come out to coincide with a new Wii peripheral, but then kinda started becoming cash grabby, which probably just led to the series' eventual obscurity. Now, I am very nostalgic for the original Wii Sports and Wii Sports Resort, but I never played any of the other games until many years later, so that's why I'd like to talk about the Wii series as a whole, just to see what I think about the more obscure games and the more meaningless games. So why don't I start at the beginning with Wii Sports, the game that started it all. It was originally made as a tech demo that would show off the raw motion power of the Wii, then called the Nintendo Revolution. Two games were made, Sports Pack for Revolution and Party Pack with Revolution, with Sports Pack for Revolution becoming Wii Sports. It was first shown off at E3 2006. Prior to that, they had announced it as Wii Sports Tennis, but at E3 they had announced that it was going to be part of a sports package alongside baseball, golf, and Wii Sports Airplane. Obviously, this was scrapped and later repurposed in the game's sequel. In this version, you pretty much just flew through rings in an also scrapped mission mode. I can only assume it was scrapped because the Wii Remote was just not up to snuff when it came to controlling something like this, but hey, maybe it was for the better. Imagine a world where Wii Sports Airplane actually came out.
Oh shit.
But f that, because it was replaced by bowling and boxing.
Cool.
The game finally came out on November 19th, 2006, alongside the Wii, one of the most prolific days out there. Hell, I never changed my calendar to anything but November 19th, 2006 because I refuse to accept that any other day exists. That was the day that boys became men, girls became women, and the Wii sold 600,000 units in its first 8 days. That day you came home from Circuit City with a Wii, extra Wii Remote, and a fresh copy of Wii Sports. For a while you could only get it through Wii bundles, which made sense, but that meant that the game came exclusively in a cardboard sleeve, except for Europe and Japan, which could be purchased separately. However, in 2011, it got a Nintendo Selects re-release and finally got a standard Wii box.
I love it when it does that.
Wii Sports is a simple motion control based minigame compilation. It doesn't have much in terms of substance, but makes up for it in troves with its simplicity. It might not seem like much now, but this was a huge deal back in 2006. Everyone was way excited for this new advanced way to play video games. Yeah, it wasn't that, but the point is that it drove in millions of people that never really played video games all that much. Another huge selling point was that you were in the game.
What?
Bundled with the Wii was the Me channel. This allowed you to do what every man, woman, and child with a Wiimote could possibly do. Create a Me. You can make a Me that looks like you, one that doesn't look like you, or whatever the hell this thing is, and then you can play as that character in-game. As for the sports, there are 5. Tennis, baseball, bowling, golf, and boxing, with extra training and Wii fitness modes on the side. Tennis is a pretty fun time. You can lob a ball between a few Miis while the spectators and multicolored glass of a crowd watch you play. You can play with some CPUs, or play with yourself if you feel so inclined. Baseball is probably my least favorite sport, probably just because I fucking hate baseball.
That guy sucks.
But most importantly, it suffers from one of the biggest problems Wii Sports has, that being its motion controls. You see, the controls are supposed to emulate you actually being in the game, like swinging the Wii Remote to hit a ball in tennis, or swinging the Wii Remote to hit a ball in baseball, or swinging the Wii Remote to hit the ball in golf, and you see my problem here? I get that they were going for simplicity, but it just gets less interesting after a while. Baseball is a perfect example of this, especially when you're the pitcher. Any slight movement registers as a pitch, which really negates the whole point of having motion controls in the first place. I guess the most I can say for it is that it's not completely terrible, so it's got that going for it. However, bowling does a complete 180 in the controls department because man, these are some tight controls. It's pretty much the perfect situation for the Wii's motion controls. Simple, basic movements that really translate well with the controller. I pretty much never have an issue with them. I also think that the bowling alley has some of the best atmosphere in the game. Seeing other Miis bowl beside you and walking alongside the alley, it really adds depth. Now remember how I said that baseball was my least favorite sport because its controls were simple in an almost deceiving way? Well, golf is equally frustrating for a completely different and much worse reason. Golf is all about precision. You have to aim and hit your ball very carefully in order to secure a good shot. So what do you get when you take a very precise sport and you combine it with a controller with the precision of a three-legged horse?
Do I even like this game?
Boxing, unlike the other sports, uses the nunchuck, another accessory bundled with the Wii that plugs into the bottom of the Wii remote and acts like a second motion device.
Dear God!
Well, I have to admit, it is pretty satisfying to punch people with the sound effects and rumble mixing perfectly, but it's still a little simplistic for me. All you really do is punch, dodge when necessary, and that's pretty much it.
Now you see me complain about a lack of content, which may seem bad at first, but you want to know how to fix that? It's a little thing called ingenuity, also known as just do this.
Oh, there's all the content. I was wondering where it went. This is the training mode, a collection of small challenges based on each of the sports designed to help you train. There's a lot of variety in what you get here. Some of them are boring like swing control, and some of them are complete bullshit like any of the golf ones, but the others, they're surprisingly fun to play. They mainly consist of score-based mini-games, which makes it enjoyable to try to beat your high score. If you get a high enough score, you can get a medal, which can then be shown on your Wii message board. It's certainly not perfect and doesn't really fix my issues with the controls, but it's one of my favorite parts of the game.
Wii Fitness mode sucks.
All it really does is have a few of the mini games from the training mode, then uses God knows what kind of science to determine your Wii Fitness age, and if that sounds familiar, that's because it was later expanded into its own game, Wii Fit. Like, I see what they're trying to do here, but it just does not work. Wii Sports isn't really the same as a full workout, and it just seems like it was added to pad out the game. Despite all I've said, I really love Wii Sports. Sure, it has its problems, however, I am very fond of it for quite a few reasons. For one, it's got a really nice aesthetic in an odd mid-2000s tech demo kind of way. Nothing can really compare to the amount of charm I feel when playing it, but I think the most important factor is just the amount of nostalgia I feel for this game. It was not only the first game I played on my Wii, but it was one of the first games I can remember playing in my life, which is really why I'm such a huge Nintendo fan to this day. I just have a lot of fun memories with this game, and going back to replay it now just makes me feel happy all over again.
I think it's safe to say that Wii Sports is a very odd case. It just reeks of mid-2000s Nintendo charm and is a very special game in my eyes. It had what was at the time revolutionary motion controls, on top of the fact that the games were simple and easy to use, just contributed to its large sales numbers. However, the controls have just not aged well at all, and they're only getting worse with time. But at least it had that going for it. If you remember, Nintendo was also developing a second game alongside Wii Sports. Well, if Wii Sports was meant to showcase the power of the motion controls, then what else could you possibly want a Wii remote to do?